If you've made it this far, you already know this wasn't just a murder. It was a calculated implosion. And what happened next would dismantle the Whitmore legacy piece by piece until only the truth remained. Adrian Keller didn't escape by force. Security footage from the holding facility showed no break-in, no tampering, no outside help scaling fences in the dead of night. At 3:12 a.m., the hallway camera outside his cell glitched for exactly 14 seconds. When the image returned, Keller was gone. Inside the cell, carved into the metal desk with something sharp enough to etch steel, but small enough to hide, were 7 chilling words. "You're still looking at the wrong Whitmore." Detective Laura Bennett stared at the message for a long time. Wrong Whitmore. They had focused on Marcus, then Eleanor, then Margaret. 3 Whitmores. But there was one more. Daniel Whitmore himself. The breakthrough came not from the crime scene, but from Daniel's encrypted company server. His firm specialized in cybersecurity for high-level corporate and government clients. The irony wasn't lost on anyone that a man who built an empire protecting secrets had died surrounded by his own. A junior analyst discovered a hidden partition in Daniel's private drive, triple encrypted, time-stamped the morning of his death. Inside was a video file. No title, just a date. October 14. Detective Bennett watched it in a dark conference room with 2 federal cybercrime agents. Daniel Whitmore appeared on screen, seated in his home office. He looked exhausted, not afraid but resigned. "If you're watching this," he began, "then something has gone wrong." He paused, as if weighing how much to reveal. "My company is compromised. Not by an outsider. Not by Keller. By someone inside this family." The room went silent. "I initiated the audit because I discovered unauthorized transfers. At first, I suspected Eleanor, then Marcus. But the pattern didn't fit." Daniel leaned forward. "It's Margaret." Bennett's pulse quickened. "She's been maneuvering for control for years, quietly acquiring leverage. And she found something I never intended anyone to see." Daniel's voice dropped. "I didn't build Whitmore systems from nothing. I stole the core algorithm 15 years ago from a startup that collapsed mysteriously weeks later." The agents exchanged glances. "The founder died in what authorities ruled a suicide," Daniel continued. "But Margaret knows the truth. She's known for months." Another pause. "She threatened to expose me unless I transferred controlling interest to her. I refused. Tonight, I'm telling the family everything." The video ended. Detective Bennett exhaled slowly. This wasn't just about money. It was about blackmail, corporate theft, a buried death from 15 years ago. Daniel Whitmore wasn't just a victim. He was a liability. Margaret Whitmore was brought in quietly. Unlike the others, she didn't cry, didn't lash out, didn't deny knowing about the video. "You finally found it," she said calmly. "You paid Adrian Keller," Bennett replied, sliding the financial documents across the table. Margaret smiled faintly. "Adrian hated Daniel. That made him useful. Did you order the murder?" "I ordered nothing," she said evenly. "I simply ensured that when Daniel chose to confess, he wouldn't live long enough to recover." Bennett leaned in. "Explain." Margaret folded her hands. "I approached Adrian weeks ago. I showed him proof that Daniel framed him for the data breach. It wasn't Keller's fault. Daniel needed a scapegoat to distract from the audit that aligned with internal inconsistencies investigators had noted but never fully unraveled. I told Adrian that Daniel destroyed his life deliberately. I let anger do the rest." "And Eleanor?" Bennett asked. Margaret's eyes flickered the first crack. Eleanor was drowning. "Daniel controlled everything. The money, the image, the narrative. I convinced her he was preparing to leave her with nothing once the scandal broke. So she drugged him," Bennett said quietly. Margaret didn't answer, but she didn't deny it. The final reconstruction came together like a dark symphony. At dinner, Daniel revealed he planned to confess publicly about the stolen algorithm, the cover-up, everything. Eleanor panicked. If the company collapsed, her wealth vanished, her reputation shattered. Margaret had spent weeks feeding that fear. Earlier that evening, Eleanor left a voicemail. "It has to happen tonight." The male voice in the background. Adrian wasn't coordinating murder. He was agreeing to confront Daniel. Margaret had ensured they both believed they were acting independently. Eleanor slipped the sedative into Daniel's wine. Marcus stormed out after learning about the will, unaware of the deeper plot. Adrian entered through the patio door with a key Margaret had provided. He intended to threaten Daniel, maybe expose him, maybe force restitution. But Daniel, weakened by the sedative, confronted Adrian first. Words escalated. Accusations flew. And then Daniel said something that shattered whatever restraint remained. According to Margaret's later confession, Daniel had told Adrian the truth. "Yes, I framed you. And I'd do it again. The stabbing wasn't pre-planned in that moment. But it wasn't entirely accidental either. Adrian grabbed the nearest knife from the kitchen counter. One thrust, precise, fatal. Eleanor locked herself upstairs, horrified at how quickly fear had become irreversible. Margaret, waiting for a call that never came, set the final stage. 2 days later, she planted the knife in Adrian's safe, ensuring he would take the fall. The handwritten note. She dictated it to Eleanor, telling her it would protect Marcus. Eleanor believed she was shielding her son. Everyone thought they were protecting something. Their future, their freedom, their pride. But they were all being manipulated by the quietest Whitmore of them all. There was just one problem. Margaret had an alibi the night of the murder, and she never physically entered the house, which meant legally, proving orchestration would be complex. But Adrian Keller's disappearance changed everything. 3 days after vanishing from custody, Keller was found in an abandoned marina warehouse, the same area where Marcus's car had been discovered. Alive, shaken. He claimed a guard let him out. Paid off. The guard confessed within hours. The money traced back to not Margaret, but Eleanor Whitmore. Another twist. Eleanor had freed Adrian. Why? Because after Daniel's video was discovered, Margaret's leverage evaporated. Eleanor realized she had been used. She arranged Keller's escape in exchange for testimony. And Adrian delivered. He testified that Margaret had orchestrated the entire chain of events, exploiting his anger, Eleanor's fear, and Marcus's resentment. With Keller's cooperation and the recovered video confession, federal prosecutors built a case not just for conspiracy to commit murder, but for corporate fraud, obstruction of justice, and blackmail tied to a 15-year-old suspicious death. Margaret Whitmore was arrested 6 weeks later, calm, composed, almost amused. As cameras flashed, she said only one sentence. My brother built his empire on a grave. I just made sure he joined it. Marcus was cleared of direct involvement, but carried the weight of knowing his anger played a role. Eleanor accepted a plea deal for obstruction and accessory charges. Adrian Keller faced manslaughter, his sentence reduced due to cooperation, and Daniel Whitmore's empire collapsed under federal investigation. The stolen algorithm scandal reignited the cold case of the startup founder's death from 15 years prior. Reclassified, no longer a suicide, but corporate homicide, the Whitmore name became synonymous not with innovation, but corruption. But here's the part that still keeps Detective Bennett awake at night. 3 months after Margaret's conviction, a federal evidence locker audit uncovered something disturbing. The knife recovered from Keller's safe had been swapped. Same model, same brand, but microscopic serial markings didn't match the original catalog entry. Someone had accessed evidence storage briefly during the first week of the investigation. Security logs showed authorized entry under Detective Bennett's credentials. Credentials she insists she never used, which means one chilling possibility remains. Margaret may have orchestrated the crime. Adrian may have delivered the fatal blow, but someone inside law enforcement may have quietly steered the narrative. And if that's true, then the Whitmore empire didn't just corrupt a family. It infected the system meant to bring it down. They thought the mastermind was behind bars. But in corruption cases like this, power doesn't disappear. It adapts. So tell me, who do you think the final M truly was? If this story left you questioning everything, you're not ready for what's coming next. Subscribe now, because the next case proves that sometimes the real crime isn't the murder. It's the cover-up.